So in this podcast, I wanted to break down how I created a brand story for this journal, and this kind of came through because the past couple of months, what I have been doing, I'll just quickly run through it. Is I have been working on in the offline spaces to connect to where I can share words about my journal, where I can share my work around self love. So I've been really connecting with offline studios, even retail spaces I'm in talks with. But as I said, um, putting out a self published book in retail spaces is much harder than I thought actually. Yes, I think even putting a product is not as difficult as it is to put out a book, and it kind of leaves me a little confused as to why that would be, because it's just how it is. um so yes, and apart from that, I decided okay, let me set up an Instagram page for my book just as a portfolio presence, because look, I have been making graphics, and I've been doing carousel stuff for a lot of Instagram content. My work was very heavy. I've got most of my clients through Instagram at the start of my business's journey. So I'm very good with it, but I kind of canceled all of that out in the last few years because I was really fed up with Instagram, and I still am. Okay, I will not deny what we've been talking about in this podcast for all this while. I'm still all of this stuff that I'm doing. I know the vision is to really ground into authenticity, into real life connections, um, into realness, which, yes, Instagram kind of it doesn't align with these values for sure. But yeah, sometimes if you want to change the system, how they say, you have to be part of those conversations, you have to be part of those circles, you have to stay there, right? So just like I am not completely leaving the entire offline community because I've had a few bad experiences, I am trying to do things differently and trying to be there and be a part of those conversations and the circles and the systems, because I'm really want to bring about that change. Because earlier, as an Aquarius moon, my instincts have always been, and as an Aries Venus, to just get up and leave the table and to just go and bring my own table and chair and mic. That's how Conscious Revolution podcast was started, right? But so many things have taught me over the past couple of years how, unfortunately, that's not how it works, and we have to be there to really really make the difference or the impact that we want to make, and sometimes play by the rules. Yeah. Of course, it doesn't mean that you have to do anything that is not aligning with the core of your truth. So, yeah, for sure, not taking any route which you feel compromises your authenticity, but also being flexible, right? I mean, that's something which I feel like my Virgo, Pisces, Gemini, Sag placements have been teaching me. These eclipses have been teaching me to be mutable, to be adaptable, because I refuse to be for the past couple of years, and it's not turned out really pretty. So I'm allowing myself to flow with the change, the to flow with 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 whatever is flowing. So yes, I've been doing that, and yeah, so I decided to do an Instagram page, and but that's the thing that I want to really talk about, is that I because when you're on Instagram, what happens is that you completely get out of touch with who you are. It's just something that happens. You have to take breaks. You have to like draw boundaries, draw lines, step back to remember who you are. Because I sat down and I designed a lot of my Instagram posts, and because I was on Instagram a lot at that time, and I was like consuming. I was extremely like being influenced, and so it was like, you wanted or not, the trends influence you, right? They end up influencing you. And I did some of the post, but then I took a little break. I felt sick. I had a really bad migraine. 2 or 3 days later, I got my periods. A week later, I think 3 4 days later, I came back to it and I was like, excuse me, this just doesn't align with. Um, yes, it's trendy. Yes, it's very Instagrammable aesthetic, but it's not what my book was about. It's not what is resonant with this work that I created. So I had to really go back to the time when I created this book and to find my old journals, to find my old notes when I was working with this book, and to also work with my astrology, because I think I did work with my astrology while I was creating this book as well. And so remembering my my aesthetics, remembering my purpose of with this book, remembering my emotions and feelings, what I was feeling while I was drawn to create this book, to design this book, to work on this book. Because as I said, things take time, and it's been I think 3 years since I worked on this book, right? 2.5, 3 years. So yeah, I came back to it again, and I remembered. Oh gosh, what kind of amnesia we all are suffering from at the time. But yes, um, so yeah, I wanted to talk a little bit briefly about my experience with this book, as I'm sharing the word, as I'm promoting the work. Um, and also, so yes, the things, A, last year when it got published, it was my ninth house perfection year, starting February, because my birthday is in February. So I feel like it's heavily inspired by my ninth house Taurus for sure. Ninth house is also about publishing, so it's fun how I published a book in my ninth house perfection year, which is just fantastic considering I wrote this in 2020, okay, but I got it like published last year. So yeah, very slow, typical Taurus style. Um, but look all the pink that it has, right? I also have my Jupiter in the sign of Libra. So straight away, my brand story, my branding with this book, the way I'm promoting it, the way I even designed it, it's very Venetian. It's very inspired from Libra and Taurus. And I remember this like yesterday, a Libra commented on one of my reels, and I was like, ooh, yeah, it's inspired by Libra. It's inspired by my Jupiter in Libra, because Jupiter again is like the ruler of Pisces, and it's a lot about sharing your work with the global audience, and it's about publishing, all ninth house stuff, right? Foreign exchange, cultural exchanges, reading, writing, a lot of writing and publishing. So there are heavy Taurus and Libra themes in this. There's a lot of like self-love in itself is such a Venetian theme, right? Love in itself is such a Venetian theme. So it's very, very love oriented. I'm just sharing with you what I kind of like remembered sort of, this past week. And I'm incorporating it in my Instagram post. So yeah, like I was like, oh my god, okay. So, like when you look at the trendy templates or the carousels, uh, watercolor and illustrations are not trending so much, as opposed to a lot of like these Pinteresty pictures are. Or I don't know if that's what I'm seeing on my feed, and that's why I think like that. I don't know. You tell me. But when I just like went through this journal again and I look back at my notes again, I realized, okay, there's a lot of like softness that's echoing in this journal. There are a lot of like um, illustrations, and there is a lot of florals, and there are a lot of like watercolor themes. There are like there's a little girl, illustration of women, lot of florals, actually, lot of florals. There are like butterflies and there are like a lot of like pinks and beiges, very soft. And when you have like the self-care list, so of course, my work is centered. This work is going to always be centered around women. It will be centered around love. I'm doing a workshop on Valentine's Day with a wellness brand, so it's very interesting. And I'm not somebody who's had any sort of relationship with Valentine's Day in particular ever in my life. So it's very interesting how, while I'm promoting this book and doing like a self-love hour with the new community, it's a Valentine's event. But I think that's not my even if that's not my energy, that's the energy of this book. I feel it's very Libra, very Taurus, right? Um, so yes, I also feel like when I was designing before that, the aesthetics that I was like going for, when I was like quote unquote influenced by the trends, it was very much like what do you say, um, Pilati princess, or like clean girl aesthetic, right? Um, because I feel also that's like my vibe sometimes, most of the times as a Pisces. Oh no, I don't like this. Yeah. So, but then I realized, no, that's not the vibe of my book. I think this is what happens, like I feel like your astrology kind of like helps you to tap back into your core essence, into where you create your work as well, because there is so much that's happening outside that it's so easy to just flow in the trends, to flow in what's happening. Like, I mean, look, we already can see with fashion right now, it's so dissolved and diluted, right? Like, everybody is. I was just talking to somebody, I don't know who, but I was really talking to somebody about how I have stopped dressing up a lot like a vulgarizing would, because it's just, that aesthetic is just so picked up and it's become so common, honestly, right now. Like, everybody's dressed up like a vulgarizing would. This whole clean aesthetic is just so common right now, and it's kind of like feels like I'm trying to copy people, so I refrain from going all in. I feel, um but and I remember before that we had this whole beige wave, and which also got me to also step back from beige. I used to have this heavy influence of beige in my room, in my house, in my wardrobe. I still do, because yeah, very Virgo, right? um, but yes, it's so wildly easy right now, especially when you're on social media or when you're consuming any kind of content on socials, that to be like influenced and to create something that is just so similar to what everybody else is doing, and we somehow attach six meanings to it and somehow call it success, or somehow call it like uh, being in the know, but that's just like you're just dissolving. Okay, you're just like completely dissolving your identity, your authenticity. And so, yes, I'm so glad I kind of like remembered. I kind of like got back into, dialed back into the core essence of this book, uh, even if through astrology. even if through remembering, uh, in working with it, not, against it. I'm just having a look at my notes to see if there is something else that I wanted to talk about. Um, yeah. So while yes, aesthetics, words like female founder aesthetic, I told this to somebody. I'm like, what? It exists? I'm like, yeah. If you're a founder, you're supposed to dress up like a female founder. You need to follow that aesthetic on Instagram, and if you don't, people don't take you seriously, which is just kind of like mad, right? There is like an image and performance that needs to be pulled up all the time. And I think if you are, I'm literally just having this page on Instagram because I know the people that I'm dealing with in the offline spaces somehow still attach meaning to online presence. And so I just want this to be like a space where I can express and share what this book is about, what the vibes of this book are, so that I can find communities and people and brands that resonate with it as I promote this book. And really hoping and praying to not dissolve my own identity and messaging and the essence of this book uh, in the process, right? Because I don't know what else, how else are we gonna like really, really keep remembering? I think astrology is definitely one way in which we do. And I feel like that's what happens when you create brand stories. You know how I pulled out my old journals and my own journalings where I wrote while I was creating this book to remember the essence with which I formulated or created this book. So I feel like your astrology, human design, for me at least, these are the few anchors. And like having a brand story where you know, when you remember, okay, this was the vision, this is the purpose, this is what I stand for, this is what my work is here to stand for. And it may align with a few people and it will not align with a few people. Like there was few studios that I collaborated with or I wanted to collaborate with, and I feel like they did not quite get it, get the vision. And so I was not actually very satisfied while participating in any of their uh, any the things that we worked on together. It didn't feel like they truly got it. And so I think going forward, one of my biggest priorities is to connect with people who actually understand and match with the frequency of my work, as opposed to how good or bad or top or middle rank they are in the hierarchy, because it just doesn't matter. They're like, at the core, I know I do not care about the hierarchy. But as I said, somehow when you kind of like get back in the race, because as you know, like I kind of like took a break for a year from all of this madness, and now that I'm kind of like coming back, it feels like I am kind of a little bit afraid to lose myself again, because it took a lot to find myself. Not that an open identity in human design can ever find themselves fully ever. But yeah, there's a sense of like, I do not want to be part of that mad race, There is a sense of resistance, a good, healthy resistance that I want to maintain, because there is a lot happening outside. It's so easy to just lose yourself in that chaos, that madness, that competition, that race, that hustle. And those are the things that I know they're not, those words, they are not a part of my vision, my philosophy, my idea of the kind of work that I want to create, or the world that I want, world environment that I want to create for myself. So, yes, it's like Saturn Pisces has been really, really very beautifully teaching me about boundaries, reminding me about my superpowers, reminding me about waiting for people to earn the trust before I just blindly go and trust them all in and have hopes and expectations from them, which only end up disappointing me and breaking my heart. It's just like more and more every day, I just keep on realizing what a Pisces I am and how soft of a heart I have. Like, because I lived a large part of my life pretending to be very headstrong and to be very, like, uh, not purposely, but somehow, because it earns you credit. Uh, but yeah, like more and more every day, I just realize what a sensitive Pisces I am and how hurt I feel sometimes, and how uh, a lot of things break my heart very easily. And I need to kind of like take care of myself, not to like have this defensive mechanism to protect, but to like be open, but with the right people. Um, yeah, and I do feel like this also rotates so much of my Mercury and Sun in Pisces, right? It's so, I feel like, so empathetic and so soft in its approach. Even when I have been meeting people in communities, most of the people who have picked this book, they're so such softies, and they are like wearing pink a lot of times. And yeah, like also very relationship oriented, very Venetian actually. And as I said, I'm a Mercury um, person, I'm a Virgo rising. So it's not something I have lived a lot of my life in that sense. But as I said, this book is born like that. I mean, look at the cup I have with me right now. This has been like I painted my room pink uh, last year. A lot of pink things have been just happening in my life, and it's like I'm discovering this part of me as well. So it's been very interesting because it's a kind of like a discovery for me as well, you know. So when I'm sharing and promoting, it's not just about selling the book, it's not just about making the book famous. It's also about, I feel like, what marketing or spreading the word or sharing about your work does to you and your soul and your heart. And it just reveals so much about you that when we step back, it can be a very interesting process um, to understand yourself, to see parts of you as you do this work. Like, you know, like right now when I'm making this podcast, now this is just revealing another layer of it. Like, okay, this is also what this process of sharing about this book is doing to me. So I feel like it's not just, I think I talked about it, how creating something reveals a lot about yourself, but I feel like similarly sharing about your work also reveals a lot about yourself, where you are in life. So I was just checking if it's recording or not, because that has happened to me so many times before. And as I said, as I'm slowly coming back, doing these podcasts again, doing these, like, this is my first video podcast after 2 years, I believe, 3 years. And I am being a little, yeah, like I'm being soft and gentle and kind to myself. So yes, promoting this book and sharing about this book is also like reminding me to love and appreciate and be compassionate to myself and my journey. It's a self-love journey in itself. As I say, every piece of work that we create has its own unique energy, and I think we are just mediums and channels to bring these things to life, and they can teach so much to us, not just by what's inside the book, but also what they do in our worlds where they take us. So, yeah, that's what I wanted to share about in this podcast. I am very excited to see. I might be actually making more. I've also, yeah, I might be actually making more podcasts based on soul led work about creativity, marketing, having structures and systems which are, rooted in authenticity, in seasonal cyclical living, in emotional heart resonance, which are purpose driven and impact driven, and not just all about um, selling your soul. I just did not have any other word than that. So, yeah, there's that. Um, yeah, I am also planning to open one on one sessions for anybody who wants to uh, work with their creativity or work with their branding. Uh, of course, there would be a lot of practical advice, the branding, marketing, or any of those things. I'll be leaving the link down below. But yes, basically, also uh, there would be portions of astrology and human design. We can book like a 2 session pack for that. Um, and what else? I'm planning to do group workshops. They have been intriguing me. Um, I'm yet to decide, so I will probably post it on Substack. The topic on which I would want to do, but there's definitely a cozy group workshop that is coming soon. Um, Let me know if you resonate with what we spoke about today. Then I would love to, if more of you are interested, I would love to host one on marketing, branding, talking about our midheavens, our Jupiter, Mercury, Venus placements, like whatever. I would love to teach how you can also implement this knowledge of astrology in sharing about your work. So yes, let me know if this resonates. Thank you so much for being here, and I hope to see you soon with the next pulse notes.